Welcome to the CyberShow. I'm Cheri, Sigmon, your host, cybersecurity authority, entrepreneur, and consultant. Tonight on the CyberShow, we have a very special guest to you, Colonel Michelle Gardner-Ince, aka Colonel GI. Hi.
Hey, how are you? Great to be here, Cheri, with you.
It's so good to see you again, ma'am. It's been so long. So, folks, let me tell you, I work for Colonel GI on a team at the Pentagon under Office of the Secretary of Defense back in 2008 and 2010, and I've been on the perimeter of her surface and following her on LinkedIn ever since then. And we've periodically stayed in touch, but we've been trying to get this rescheduled here for a few weeks now and get everything lined up. So the first time we tried to do this, I had technical difficulty because I was out at my dad's house, and then there was scheduling conflicts in between because she's so busy and she's just like top notch. She knows all about business. She's a leader through and through. She can talk to you about success in life. So I'm going to turn it over to her now before we dive into too many details and just let her tell you a little bit about her history and her story. And take it away, Colonel GI.
Hey, great. Thanks, Cheri. What a delight it is to spend time with you and your listeners. Michelle Gardner-Ince. Everybody calls me GI. I've had that name ever since I got married, and I was in Tactical Air Command at the time for the Air Force, and it's kind of a compliment if the pilots give you a nickname or a call sign. And so when I came back from my honeymoon, the guy said, "Hey, we're going to call you GI." And hey, since then it's a brand and it's a first name, and it might even be an adjective or a verb.
It could be. Yes, ma'am.
But anyway, I spent 27 years in the military, in the hospitality, recreation, and base operations arena. I've been a base commander, but my most fun job was when I was the APHIS commander in the Pacific, and just had a great time making sure that troops and their families got all the things like they would get back here in the United States, and loved every minute of that. And then I came to Pentagon, where I got to support the defense security, the Defense DTSA, Defense Technical Security
Defense Technology Security Administration. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Policy. Yes.
Yeah. So hey, it's been a while. I've been retired for a while. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you how long, but
okay.
Forgive me.
All good.
But I'm now at the VA in the Office of Small Business, where my passion and my mission is to increase the number of women veteran business owners in the federal and commercial space. And so that's my complete focus, helping them navigate. And I always say I'll also help a few good men.
Oh, there you go. Of course. Well, I'll tell you, you've been so successful in life and in business and in your career. I just talk to us a little bit about leadership. I mean, I've seen your leadership in action.
Yes.
So.
Well, I'm very passionate about leadership, and here's why. I think I've always been a boss, but it wasn't until it wasn't until the year 2000 that I really understood what it meant to be a leader. And there's a huge difference. And the book that changed my life and gave me that perspective is the 21 Most Powerful Minutes in a Leader's Day and the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Mm-hmm. And that changed my life because it made me realize how accountable and responsible we are for our leadership. And if you see a bad leader, be careful, it's because they saw one. When people do what they see, they say, "Oh, that person yelled and treated people this way, and I see they moved up, so that must be what it takes to be a leader," when that's not true. And the thing about being a leader is, when you think about the legacy of getting it right, you get to grow so many other amazing leaders, right? Mm-hmm. But when you get it wrong, you can kill people's lives. I mean, if you especially in the military where you have that commander G series orders, where you can send people to jail, or they or put them out with a felony. But even short of that, if you don't learn to coach people, be patient. And even now I'm learning that some people don't go as fast as you. And they always say, if you take a walk and you turn around and nobody's following, you're not a leader. So sometimes that requires you to slow down in pace, but not in vision, right? And what I like to say is that if you can touch the lives of people through leadership, it is the most amazing feeling. Because I tell people, I'm here because of the love of one chief. One chief master sergeant mentored me when I was a lieutenant. And as a result, I'm responsible for mentoring 10 chiefs and 2 officers. All because of one chief who was a leader, saw me as a young lieutenant, treated me with respect, taught me how to lead the enlisted force. And that is the reason I wanted to go do it. We love how we've been loved. We mentor how we've been mentored. We lead how we've been led. We coach how we've been coached. And so that's why, if you get it right, it has a tremendous legacy that just keeps going on, because those chiefs are now mentoring others. And it just, and I meet people say, you don't know me, but I've benefited from your mentorship that you gave to my mentor. And so that brings me a lot of joy.
So you paid it forward.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, back in the day when I was a young lieutenant, I got in the back pocket of a chief master sergeant as well. And we were in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then we got separated. I went to Japan, and he went somewhere else and retired soon after that. But I knew I didn't know a whole lot of things in the real world, and he had a lot more experience. And I was told to find somebody who's been there, done that, and got the T-shirt and knows a lot more than you. And forget what you learned in the textbooks. Just follow somebody who's been there and get in the pocket of a chief master sergeant. And then, of course, that's an E9. Maybe any other services will be different, but you definitely want to find the most senior person and follow them. So I hear what you're saying, absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about what you're doing for business owners.
Well, right now what I'm doing for business owners is I'm bringing together women, because that is my focus, who could possibly do business together. So I'm helping them, I'm facilitating a relationship between them. And if you know anything about federal contracting, it's anywhere from handshake to contract can be anywhere from 2 to 3 years. And that's on the low side, excuse me. So, relationships are important to small business, because you can only handle, as far as capacity and capability wise, so much business or so much of a FTEs or whatever the contract is requiring. But if you join together with somebody and they leverage their strength, you leverage your strength, you take both of your staffs and you're working to support this huge $100 million effort that you never could have won. You can do that with a team, but you can't do that by yourself because you don't have the bandwidth to do that. And so I'm trying to help more women understand, how do you do business together and what does that look like? And many of these women are extremely smart. They're capable and they've been successful. But if they don't learn to team, they will only get to a certain level. They will only grow to a certain level. And I keep trying to remind them that what got them to where they are is not what will get them to the next level.
All right, that makes so much sense, GI, because I was working with someone, and I'm actually going to be a vendor at Danielle Winningham's expo next week. This
wow.
kicked off this week. It's You should look it up, and I want to hook you up with her. I want to introduce you to us. To me, it's all about relationships and introductions
I
as well.
love it. Thank
I'll
you.
introduce you to her. She's in Houston. Her name is Danielle Winningham, and she's hosting something called Pink Wall Street. And it's for
Ah,
women-owned businesses and specifically black women-owned businesses.
wow.
Thing. So it's called pinkwallstreet.com, and it runs 4 days. So she initially had two,
Wow.
and there was so much demand. So she's so sharp. It's now 4 days instead of two in the evening after
Wow.
corporate hours. So I'll introduce you after this if you're interested. And for all the
Thank
folks
you.
listening
I
out
love
there,
that.
check out Pink Wall Street. And one of my cybersecurity partners, we've been partnering on some things since April. I told her about it, and she joined as well. So we're going to be presenting on Saturday evening.
That's amazing.
And that'll keep me out of trouble anyway, at least
And
on
what
Saturday
are you
night.
going to be presenting on? Cyber?
Cybersecurity. So it'll talk about
Wonderful.
15 minutes here, and then I'll introduce her, and she'll talk 15 minutes about what she's doing. So we have
And then
something called
Q&A?
CISO advisors together. And not just to plug that, because it was supposed to be about you, but it's a segue.
No. This
It
is
fits what you're
this
saying.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, it fits what you're saying, and it can benefit people because you can see how women collaborate and support each other. And to what your point just was about teaming, she and I have teamed on vCISO advisors. So if one of us doesn't have the bandwidth to do the consulting, say
Yes.
we have a larger corporate client and we want to do something for a smaller business later, we can farm that work out individually into other vCISOs we know, virtual chief information security
Love it.
officer. So it's
Love
executive
it.
advisory services, but you can only do so much as a lone wolf.
Right.
Exactly what you were
Right.
saying. So
Yes.
Dawn is going to be in on that, and I'll introduce you to Danielle. And that's like very timely because it's this week, and I think you should probably get what you're doing in your personal capacity through Slap Stuff
Yes.
featured there as well.
Oh, I would love that because what you all are doing is demonstrating what women have to do, and I'm going to get a little just honest and straightforward. Women have problems with women. I'm just going to say it. We don't trust. We don't trust. Oh, she looked and cut her eyes at me, or oh, I tried to talk to her and she dismissed me at an event. Well, guess what? She's there to make business, get business. If she didn't give you this long conversation, it's not because she saw the decision maker and she needs to get over there and talk to them. It's not about you. It was about her and her business, her and her money, I call it, right?
Exactly.
And we, as women, we don't process and store. You're gonna love this from a cyber standpoint. We don't process and store our hurt, right? We have to process it. We have to put it someplace, package it up, and put it over there and store it. And here's why. Because if we don't, we take that hurt with us every relationship we attempt to create. We taking it with us and it's baggage. And the minute that person or that woman does something to trigger something that resembles the hurt, all of a sudden it's like the ex-boyfriend, right? You're holding them accountable for you're holding the new boyfriend accountable for what the old boyfriend did, or the old girlfriend. It goes both ways. But it's very important in business to really keep a positive mindset and to be open, because people do business with who they know, like, and trust. Period. And I even before I was in business or was associated even with veteran small business, John Maxwell brought this to light, and I was like, that's brilliant. He said, if you have two people, they're equal in talent, but one I know and have relationship with, they coach my son or daughter in soccer, baseball. The other one I don't. That person who they have relationship with can have fewer qualifications, and I will still hire and give business to that person because I know, like, and trust them. And know, like, and trust is not on a resume or a capability statement all the time. A business capabilities, which is, for those who don't know, that's a business resume, for lack of better words. And so it's so important that business owners really, I call it, are constantly doing self-improvement, feeding themselves. You know, I always say, people always say, oh, GI, you're so positive. I said, well, you know, if you don't insert fresh air into a stale room, it'll be stale. And so that's why I'm constantly trying to be around people who are positive, listen to podcasts, you know, watch YouTube videos that are all positive, be around positive people, because I have stinking thinking, don't get me wrong, but because of all the positive that I interject into the room or in my mind, most of the time that stinking thinking, that bad air gets pushed out. And when you are a business owner, you're selling yourself. They're buying you first, then the business. And so if you got some issues, if you don't, you know, you got all this stuff going on, they don't want to buy you, and they don't want to buy what you're selling. So that's why the internal piece is so important. And so many business owners, I see this, are so busy running after the dollar that they don't realize if you invest in yourself, you will attract the dollars.
It's the vibe. Yeah, people have that sixth sense. They know.
Exactly. Yes.
They can see through the nonsense flag. Or somebody who's like, you know, showing pictures. Like I like to talk about the personal brand, and you have a very good personal brand, and especially on LinkedIn. You should check out her LinkedIn profile. You want to tell people what that is, because it's really sharp. It's a really nice.
Yeah, LinkedIn is either ask 4 G-I, or Michelle Gardner-Ince, no hyphen. That's Michelle, 2 L's and an E, Gardnerince, for LinkedIn. But ask 4 GI will also get you there. It's a shortened version, so you can get there.
There you go. So
and I'd love to connect with anybody who's interested in veteran businesses, but business in general, mostly in the federal and commercial space. I mean, I don't really do much if you're not in the federal commercial space. Some people will come to me and ask me about getting something in APHIS, right? So I might say, hey, here's somebody I know, but that's not my focus or passion.
Right. So you might do an introduction, but definitely, folks,
absolutely,
check that out for a great example of personal branding. You just check out, it's a really, really sharp profile, and it's exactly what LinkedIn should be like. I actually need to clean mine up and make mine look like GIs. So I'm working on it. That's on my list. It's on my short list to do, or have
done.
So
great.
That's great. Well, I think in terms of branding, you're a great example of what it takes for someone to be successful as an Air Force officer, as a woman, as a wife, as a leader, as a person of faith. I recall about you.
Yes.
And just life in general. Do Jim want to talk about anything around that? I mean, it's kind of putting you on the spot, but this is an open conversation.
No. It's okay. So, you know, when I changed it, my time in Okinawa was a very spiritual time. I think it was the water, the beauty of just the island. And oh, by the way, I was just about famous. The only thing that wasn't there was paparazzi, because I was on all these BX and PX commercials 4 and 5 times a day. So I was really reclusive. So that's probably part of why I was a very spiritual. I got to spend a lot of time with myself. But when I left there, I wrote in my farewell or speech, or my change command speech, something I would like to share. And it says, the place every great leader should be is close to God. When you think about all the opportunities, not just to influence people, do great things with the mission, but the numerous opportunities to mess up the mission and the lives of people. And I stress, and the lives of people, because you can go back and redo the mission. But oftentimes when we damage people, we cannot get a do-over.
Right.
When you think about the responsibility, the legacy of those mistakes dealing with people's lives, the place every great leader should be is close to God.
Absolutely.
So, I say that in a vein of, regardless of what your faith is, you should be seeking some outside source to do good, to get guidance on how do I handle this tough decision? How do I handle this difficult situation? Because when we get too egotistical, and I have been there, I call it reading your own press, right? Uh, don't do it, by the way. Um, that's when we get egotistical and think we're untouchable and I'm in charge. I can do whatever I want. And I believe pride comes before the fall.
Mm-hmm.
It's not if,
When?
but when
But when?
it's coming, right?
It's like a cybersecurity breach. It's not a matter of if, but when. It will
I
happen.
love that. Hey, I love that analogy.
It's when, not if.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, tell me these days. It's so good to catch up with you. What do you do for fun? I mean, you're so busy. What are
Oh,
your fun things to do now, even with the quarantine
well,
going on?
um, the fun things I'm doing are really around my personal business and branding. You know, I know that I have committed to starting a podcast this year. So
Hey,
I yay. So I am busy trying to get the concept I know, but just begin to get people lined up. I've talked to people, they said, yeah, but I need a personal assistant, by the way. I really just need somebody to say, hey, put you in that slot, put that person in that slot. So that's one thing. But I'm spending a lot of time on my branding. And what I mean by that, not so much, you know, what do I want to be known for?
mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be known for something, you have to put thought into it, right? I
Mm-hmm.
know that kind of sounds like. So I do a lot of reading on leadership, a lot of reading on business, collaboration, teaming, um, networking. How and the reason is because my desire is to be a thought leader for women veteran businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I want to help them collaborate and team. I want to help them grow themselves as leaders and understand, how do I hire? How do I fire? How do I how do I be a leader, but they're not my children. They're not my family. Because that familiarity breeds contempt, especially in business, because there's money at stake and they will sue you.
That's real
So
world advice.
hey, that's for real. So a lot of women are smart, but they've not led large amounts of people and very large, diverse organizations. And although, when I was in business for myself, before I came to VA, I was, I call it a sole proprietor. I still am, only one FTE, but all of my career, I've been in the profit loss arena.
True.
I've always been in the Air Force. We had to make so much money on lodging. We had to make so much money in the dining facilities. When I was in charge of APHIS, we had to make so much money. So I'm used to hiring, I'm used to firing, I'm used to cutting costs, making those tough decisions. And a lot of these women have not had that experience. They may have had that experience, a lot of people working for them in the military, but it's different when you have people working for you that are on the payroll.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I'm trying to get women to understand is you must be creative when you're small with your job descriptions. You cannot have the job descriptions and positions of large companies. You can't afford a chief of staff and a COO and a BD person and an admin person. You may need to combine, say, what skills are critical to the next step I'm going to, right? Because you always hire for where you're going, not where you are. Because if you hire for where you are, what happens is you hire a person for where you are, you grow, and then you want to know why they don't why they can't do what you need, because you bought dial-up and you need, FiOS, quantum, whatever the highest level you need. You need
Right.
cable, internet, phone. You need all these things built in to that next person. And so I remember I was talking to a woman and I was about this whole concept. And she said, "Oh, I got this person. I really need to fire them." I said, "Well, fire them." "Oh, I can't afford to." I said, "Can you afford not to?"
Good question.
Because if you do not fire them, they are a morale downer to the high performers.
Hmm.
Because the high performers see this slug, that's what I like to call them, because they move slow and they leave a horrible trail.
No slugging.
Exactly. So, if you don't, they're watching this person that you are continued to pay, and they, oh, by the way, most of the time are doing their work. So can you afford not to
Mm.
fire this person? And oh, by the way, I bet you there's somebody in your business that would love to have a new opportunity.
Grow from
So
within. Yeah.
exactly, grow from within, and that should always be the mindset of a small business.
Huh.
You hire people for one thing, but they may have other skill sets, and those skill sets weren't applicable because at the time that they were hired, that was being filled or done by somebody else. So when you have the opening, the first place you should look is within, because guess what? You'll save hiring dollars.
Hmm.
You might just be able to give them some more duties, and you might even save because instead of one position, they can do two things.
Hmm.
We have to think creative when it comes to staffing, and we have to understand that um, it's really important to hire business development people, but that's a whole nother conversation
Okay.
because
We can do a follow
people
up
hire.
later.
Yeah. Because people hire business consultants and they pay them a monthly retainer, and you don't know if they're working for you and somebody else. What business did you really get that month, right?
True.
So it's not that they're all bad, but you got to know enough about it to hold them accountable.
You have to calculate your ROI, right? Your return on investment, and yeah, it's hard like
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
Well, this is all really good advice. I tell you, actually, I had something I just thought of. I'm gonna ask you offline. It's just not
Okay.
like relevant for the show, but I want to leverage your knowledge and insights in terms of some work coming up in the near future. So we'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely.
But it
Would
has to
love
do
to
with the
help you.
classified realm. So
Yeah.
I'm really eager to work with some partners that I have lined up to do a certain thing, and you just gave me a really good idea of something I need to do to get myself better prepared in presenting the
Wonderful.
team before I do much of anything else. So,
Well,
oh my
then,
gosh.
hey, we can stop the show. I've helped somebody. At least I know I've helped you. Hopefully, something I've said has helped, some listeners.
Yeah, I think so. Well, do you have any? How much time do you have? Do you have a few more minutes?
I do.
Okay, great. Well, I'd just like to know, do you have any closing thoughts about anything in general we've talked about? Leadership, business, career, success in life, faith, success,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Another personal passion of mine is for more veterans to think like entrepreneurs. I want to encourage the entrepreneur mindset.
Mm.
Instead of looking for a job when you leave the military,
Mm-hmm.
instead start an LLC before you leave the military.
Mm.
Get it all established, get it set up, and then when you're looking for a job, let's say a large company might be veteran owned, even could be a Microsoft, Deloitte, Verizon, any of those.
Right.
You apply for the job,
Mm-hmm.
you interview, you get hired. When you go to HR, you say, I don't want to be an employee. I want to be a subcontractor, because you don't need medical. You don't, because at least if you're using, either TRICARE or the VA, you get
Right.
that's taken care of.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, if you are a entrepreneur, then when you see a problem, halt, stop, veteran. Do not solve the problem. You go and you write a white paper, what the solution is, what you're proposing. You take it to your parent company and you say, I think we can solve this problem. And then you say, and oh, by the way, I want to negotiate with you 5, 10%, 1% of that solution if the government buys it.
I love it.
And then when you get that contract, you now hire other people to replace you, and then you get to work on your business instead of in your business.
Oh, that is pure gold, GI. That's pure gold.
I want to change, because what do? We always solve things, and that's money. Solving problems, addressing issues, meeting needs are money. And that's how we got to think about it. We just inherently go and do it, and the company says, hey, thanks. And somebody gets a new boat or a new plane. I'm not against that, by the way, but I'm just saying you ought to get a piece.
You want to get a piece of the action. You get some of that bread, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then that becomes you are your first subcontract.
That's brilliant. I wish I'd done that right out of the gate when I went active duty. I'd never thought of it. I'd never thought of that. It's been a minute, but I never thought of that back then either.
And the beauty of it is, if the company doesn't need you to be in the office all day, let's say they hire you and you work 8 hours, but the job really only takes 4, you can negotiate that. You can negotiate. I want to work, because see, you're a subcontractor now. You're no longer an employee.
Different mindset.
Yeah, and that's why I said I'm on this campaign to change, to make veterans think with an entrepreneurial mindset.
I love it. You should have a course on that. Do you have any courses coming up, or anything that you could offer in terms of content?
I'm working with an accountant, because what I want to do is, if you jump out there, you got to make sure, oh, by the way, you pay your taxes, you got to pay Social Security, you got to pay Medicare, you got to get all that set up where it's an automatic thing that you're not at the end of the year like, oh, I made all this money, but oh my God, I got to pay taxes.
Right.
All those things, your retirement, all those you need to treat yourself like you are a business. Like, I'm paying myself, I'm paying an employee, and these are all the things I would do if I was paying employees. So I'm working with an accountant. I haven't done a course, but I do have some companies that I'm talking to who are interested in the concept, because they want to increase their veteran hiring. And I said, veteran hiring is great, but wouldn't it be great if you grew your own group of veteran businesses?
I like that. I think you have something there. I think you should package and sell that, bottle that somehow.
Okay, you can help me with that.
Okay, that sounds great. But should we stop recording now, and then I can ask you the question about the question thing, and then you can ask me about that?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much again. That's a great way to wrap, actually, the show. I was kind of joking about that, but you've just shared a lot of golden nuggets tonight.
Oh, thank you
listen
for
to this
having
more
me.
than once. So you can really hear what she's saying. It's the blueprint to the gold, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because she knows about business and leadership, and she means business, and she's all about business. So ask for GI. Okay, what's your link again? One more time.
Ask the number 4 G-I.
All right, great. Thanks so much. Thanks for stopping by the CyberShow. We'll catch you on the flip side.
All righty.